Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast, episode number 56 with Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. We're glad that you've chosen to listen in or watch. And thanks to our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction for sponsoring this podcast once again.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
What's happening, Chris? How are we today?
I'm doing good, man. Little strange week last week. A lot went on. Let's see. We had a midweek football game or a non-Saturday football game.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, we lost Coach Knight, which is sad, but certainly a legend in coaching and was a big part of that was at Texas Tech. And the Adidas deal gets announced. You get a schedule release. A lot basketball season kind of on the cusp of beginning here. So a lot, and then obviously the football game went your way, which is also positive. And there was a possum sighting. So anyway, all the things, man. And man, this also enters like arguably the most stressful couple of weeks for myself, just because everything's happening at the same time, and it's hard to like feel like you can keep your head straight and compartmentalize when you're trying to, because I think, this week is like with you, and you'll be a part of a lot of this, but Wednesday night basketball game, which broadcasting that one for Thursday, coach's show with Coach McGuire with you.
Yep.
Friday, travel to Lawrence. Saturday, do the football game, and then Sunday doing a basketball game at 1:00. So, and that doesn't even count my day job or trying to be a dad or a husband or anything else. That's just kind of that tech thing that I do.
Tech thing, yeah.
Well, yeah, the tech portion of my job, working for the folks at Learfield. So, anyway, it's fun. It's just stressful and it's very busy. So, anyways,
yeah, no doubt. But it is a fun time of year if you're winning. That's a big part of it, and you finally get that win against Texas Christian. On Thursday night, it really did. It was a very strange week. You had a lot going on. I do want to talk about the schedule matrix and a lot of that other stuff you mentioned. Definitely going to talk some hoops as we enter into week one for college basketball. But we'll start with football. A Thursday night win for Texas Tech over TCU, and this one it just felt a little different. The team played with some confidence. You had the extracurricular stuff, as you mentioned, with the possum, a cool drone show, some huge B-1 bombers flying over, lots of cool stuff on the Thursday night. But most importantly, you get a win, and as someone's asking, or we will get a question about quarterback play a little bit later. Get to that. Quarterback play seemed to help balance out your offense, where Tahj Brooks wasn't shouldering the entire load offensively.
Yeah, it was just nice to finally have a quarterback that was mostly healthy, and with some experience, I should say, and I think it uplifts everybody. I think it uplifted everybody's confidence. I mean, Joey McGuire talked about that quite a bit. I think that it's just like, I think he used the term, the 10 Red Bull deal, just an energy infusion, if you will, with everybody. Because I think everybody's confidence goes up a bit whenever Behren is out there.
Yeah.
Not just receivers, but just the team in general, because you feel like you've got a legit chance to beat a good team. And TCU's, they're trying to figure it out. I think right now they're very talented, but they've kind of been like you are this year. They've dealt with some injuries, and the turnover bug has bitten them, and it did Thursday night. Obviously, is Dadrian Taylor Demerson, or Rabbit as we lovingly call him. ended the game with a pick and had a previous one, and would have had a third had there not been a penalty on Ben Roberts, I believe, on that play. But I just think Behren being back, it gives you some hope, and it gives you a legit chance to play the game down the field. It helps Tahj out. It helps the offensive line out. It helps Zach Kitley out. It helps everything about the machine, knowing that you've got, and he's still, I think he'll be healthier this week versus Kansas than he was versus TCU. That's just kind of how this thing. They kept him pretty clean that night versus the Frogs, but winning is fun, man, and it's always it's especially fun to beat those guys because they'd had your number. They beat you 7 of 9 times. They beat you 4 of the last 5. And there's many teams out there that currently kind of have your number, and they've been one of them. And really, both of the purple teams that you had faced at home in recent weeks have had your number, and it was not. But it's also nice to beat the in-state teams too.
Sure, you've done 3 times this year.
Exactly, Baylor, Houston, and TCU. Those games just seemingly feel a bit different or mean a bit more, just because you bump up against those schools in recruiting. Odds are, somebody that went to these institutions.
Right.
There's just, the players kind of know each other from high school or whatever. At times there's some relationships there. And so anyway, that was a fun one. That was personally satisfying. I know it was satisfying to the program for Behren and Joey and Coach Kitley and just everybody involved that, and Coach DeRuiter and just all those guys, just to kind of get back on the winning track, because all that pomp and circumstance that comes with it, it doesn't matter unless you win. That's the sad part about it. I love pomp and circumstance as much as anybody.
Right.
I mean, squirrel. Oh, I'm all about more pyro, not less. I'm all about, hey man, burn flames, smoke, whatever you want to doctor it up with. I mean, regardless of what you feel about him personally, I always loved the Vince McMahon version of WrestleMania, because it's like literally that's all it is like 4 hours of pomp and circumstance, and I love all that, but ultimately winning matters.
I didn't see you over there petting the possum like President Skubinik, though, so I mean, how much are you into it?
It was in the field of play. Whenever I saw it, it was taken out the opposite tunnel.
That's true. It did go
my question is, do they have somebody with animal control on duty all the time?
That's something I think that was new. I wonder if this was post Fox that they had the animal control person, and
so somebody's out there every home game with that stick and that noose thingy. That
we need to investigate on that, because I guess so. Because
circular,
I think it's called a snare or whatever. I think it's called a snare, but I'm not sure. But the thing from the Lady in the Tramp movie. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because it just they walked. I think it was a lady that walked out there just fairly calmly and
on it quick. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just was like, okay, hey, come here, little fella, you're gonna go with me. I mean, and just kind of dragged it.
I think from what it seems like, at least on social media, I think the Fox made its debut against when Texas Tech was playing TCU in 2013 on that Thursday night. So I guess since then it sounds like they've kept an animal control person at the stadium in case some sort of animal gets out there. You never know.
And there we went. Yeah.
But no, you're right. I mean, all of it. The beating TCU thing, you're right. It does have just a different feel to it. Beating any in-state school, beating TCU, especially since they've had your number. If Tech wants to just continue on to be, Big 12 Texas State champs and get something done in Austin a few weeks, I'd be okay with that too. But got a few games before that, and we'll get into the Kansas game. But there were several moments, key moments in that game against TCU. Obviously, you have a few things we just haven't seen this year, or haven't seen in a while. And the turnover element is part of it. Joey McGuire's, harped on that the last week or so, that you haven't been taking the football away. You get a couple of huge ones that help you to a win there. You also got to see Dre McCray go deep for the first time as a Red Raider, and we were hoping to see a lot more of that. But finally, he gets behind someone, and you have a quarterback with the confidence and arm strength to get it to him.
Yeah, I think you've been trying to get Dre involved. And I think Dre's a great kid. He hasn't, gotten down at all. He's
Sure.
just still very engaged, and I think he would have hoped to have been more involved than he has been. And I think what Dre has realized that Austin P to the Big 12, he needs to get stronger. I think he gets jammed at the line of scrimmage a bit, and when DBs get their hands on him, I think it slows him down, and so that's one of the processes that he's going through right now. But he's a wonderful kid, and he can run when he's got some space. And he got behind the old defense there and made a play, and it was good for Behren for seeing him, and
Yep.
almost a little bit underthrown, but complete the play nonetheless. And yeah, maybe he's offered up. That kick return by Dre, and then that touchdown right there, two of the better plays at home and meaningful plays at home this season, and both of them came in wins.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, here's a question regarding something from the game on Thursday night. This is from Josh on Twitter. Josh says, isn't using the book as a Bible instead of a daily devotional guidebook contrary to the 1-0 mindset? You're playing the odds that you'll prove true, perhaps 100 4th and 4s in your own end, but you won't have a job long enough to prove it. So sounds like Josh is against the 4th down mindset in general, or at least living by the 4th down mindset instead of using it as a guide.
It's it's that's the thing about it, Woodman. It's not a guide.
You can't pick and choose.
Either you are in or out. And I know that there's some exceptions. Hey, it's pouring rain, our guy's dinged up, we don't have a good play call here. I don't know, insert whatever here, but it's not a guide by any means. Is it a guide? Because that at that point, you're not using analytics. You're just kind of want to know what the number is, and then you'll make an educated guess based off of that.
Yeah,
on the percentages or whatever. But no, I think and they'll all tell you, like, 4th and 1 is pretty much a go anywhere on the field. Especially if you're tied or whatever, or trailing. Look, those of us that have followed football for a long time, and it has nothing to do with tech or anything else.
Yeah,
it's outside the box. It messes with my head a bit. I thought all along about, like, you do whatever you can to stay in the game, play the game as long as you can, to give yourself a chance, to not take yourself out of the chance. But what analytics does, it's all about win probability. It doesn't want you to tie. It doesn't want you to extend any kind of game and get it to overtime. No, it's trying to get you to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's all its funnels toward is win probability. And so that's the way it is. And trust me, and I hear the criticisms as well, and some of it I'm like, I'm not brave enough to do it. But that's the thing, is like, you got to nut up, and like, you gotta be willing to say, I can't just do it when I'm comfortable about, or I feel good about doing it. That's the whole point. Right. That's the whole point. And hey, you beat Texas last year because of this. Like, if you don't have the gumption to, like, we're going to follow it here, like, you don't beat Texas because you were 6 of 8 on 4th downs last year. Well, in the first half against TCU,
I was about to say, you could argue you won this game because of it.
I mean, yeah, and I think that, but it's the one that you don't get, or and then, okay, well, I don't mind just going for it. I just want a different play call. Well, kind of the same thing, I'm sure Kansas State would be like, of course you'd want a different play call when you didn't get it, but the whole point is you went for it, and you went with whatever play that you thought would work the best. But
yeah, we gave the stat on the broadcast on Thursday night, but this year, and the numbers were very similar last year, Texas Tech on 4th downs or on drives that you've gone for it on 4th down and converted successfully. You've gone on to score 65 points this year. 17 of those were against TCU. 17 points against TCU, all of them in the first half. But you've gone on to score 65 points continuing those drives. On drives that have stopped because you've not converted the fourth down, so on ones you failed the fourth down conversion, you've only given up 13 points all year. Your defense has only given up 13, and 7 of those were against TCU. So it's almost a confidence thing too, because I've seen the argument, well, you don't have confidence in your defense. That's backwards. It's that Joey McGuire has so much confidence in his defense that they're going to go get a stop if they don't convert there. So I get it. I'm with you. I understand the more traditional mindset, the thinking. It's very very abnormal, but you're either in or you're out. Completely in or out, and and Texas Tech is as in as anybody on that. Okay,
and so more and more teams are in. I think Chris Kleiman, ended the situation in Austin because they are doing a lot of analytical stuff, and he just felt like that was go time.
Did you like it? The call?
Well, okay, no, and here's why.
Yeah.
I thought his defense, like Kansas State's, because we're talking about Kansas State was they went for the win. They scored the touchdown or whatever. They went for the win and went for 2, all those things. And they'd allowed a field goal, and
I think one field goal
and then they were trying to. Am I right? Anyway,
yeah, they let up a field goal. It was 33-30 Texas. So they gave up just the field goal in the first overtime, and then second possession.
Yeah, the second one overtime.
They were the second possession.
Yes, either way, but it came down to like,
they went for it. Yeah,
we can either tie it here or we can go for the win. And he decided the game ends now. And what I didn't like is about that is probably analytically it does say go. It's a go. But I thought his defense was playing pretty well, and also thought that putting a true freshman quarterback in that scenario, which Texas currently has, in Malik Murphy, I thought that would be a plus. I would have gone back and forth with him as much as I can, because I would have trusted that my defense would have, really put that true freshman quarterback in a bit of a bind. Just me, it didn't work. I was obviously rooting for Kansas State at the time.
Sure.
And hated that, but again, they have themselves to blame, because it wasn't just that play. Snap the extra point on time, make a chip shot field goal,
27-yarder,
So all those things.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I do think as we wrap this part of it up, I do think we've seen Joey McGuire do that as well, in specifically the Iowa State game last year, in a game that was much more defensively. He didn't stick to the book as much. It was
weather,
much more weather, defense. That was more of a feel situation. And he told us going into the game that was most likely how they would play it. But it's not 100%. But sometimes you go with what brought you here. Okay, one more football question before we move on to talking a little schedule.
And you know what? I don't care whether you're heavy analytics or as old school as it gets with how you want to play it, and play it how people were doing it all the time. Just want to win.
Just win, baby. That's it.
I mean, that's I don't, and whether it's 10-9 or 48-47, whether you're an offensive guy, a defensive guy, you just want to win. That's all people want to do. Fun. They just want to win. And when certain things cause you to lose, it's like, well, I have an issue with that.
Of course.
That's
always 2020.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so one more football question here. This one from Steven. How many wins would we have this season if we had a healthy quarterback every game this season?
I would have thought you would have beaten BYU in West Virginia. I thought you would have figured out the West Virginia game. It had Tyler played the whole thing, or if Behren would have come in. And heck, I mean, he was injured, and he still almost tied the game at the end. If not for just that missed touchdown pass to tie it at the end that went through Jaden York's hands.
Yeah.
mistimed his jump or whatever it was. Those two, I think, right there for sure. I mean, you can never prove it. I just don't think BYU is very good. I think that's playing out. I think now they're a bit dinged up, but I even think when they were really healthy, I just don't think they're very good at all. And
sure,
unfortunately, and I think you beaten BYU with Tyler Shuck or Behren Morton in there if they were healthy by double digits. I firmly believe that. But and I mean, because think about how lopsided the turnover margin was in that game, and you're still, like hanging in there. I mean, what did you turn it over 5 times?
5 times.
I mean, and it's a 2-score game. So I just would have thought that Tyler or Behren would have won that game by 10 plus. So that would be my answer. So we'll see.
I think most people probably agree with you. Which,
although I guess we won't see. I wish we could see.
We wish we could see. Yeah, touche. Yeah, and you would be sitting here bowl eligible right now. Still may not be the dream season a lot of people had hoped for or anything, but it would feel a lot different. Quarterback health has had a major effect on the season, and maybe if Behren can stay healthy, you'll have a shot winning really any of the games left on the schedule. You'll be in those games. By the way, I think the first line I saw on the Kansas game,
it's around 3 or 4.
Yeah, around 3 or 4 is. Speaking of, let's go ahead and go there next. Kansas is a football team that is playing with confidence. They won at Iowa State over the weekend, coming off of a win against OU prior to that. This is not your dad's Kansas team. This is one that is an actual good football team. What are Texas Tech's chances up in Lawrence this week?
Well, it's the best Kansas team since their Orange Bowl team in 2008, and Todd Reesing and Mark Mangino and all those guys. I think they have more wins at this point in the season than any team since then. I think they're ranked, and they've got legit guys on their team. I'd mentioned that to you before several weeks ago, but I mean, I'm jealous of their offensive skill. And now Jason Bean has kind of now played so much that he's really not a backup. I mean, this is who you played against last year when you played Kansas, and you beat him. He has got legit speed. I think he's now starting to. They're not running him a lot because there's not a lot behind him, so he's had to adapt and learn to be more of a drop back guy and delivering the football and all those things. But he's got 2 stud running backs in Daniel Highshaw and Devin Neal. I mean, Devin Neal was the first team All Big 12 guy, big time speed, but yeah, they've got a lot of offensive skill and juice, and their scheme is very complex. At least it is to defend. Maybe internally it's like, oh, this is the simplest ever, but it's very difficult because their OC has basically stated, I want to make our offense the most stressful one in the Division I for opponents to try to get ready for. And so if you watch them, they shift basically 3 to 4 guys on every play, and because it changes the gaps and they want you to get mixed up. And then this leads to so many busted coverages because it's just eye candy, a lot of it, but it's, all it takes is the one time where you screwed up. Oh, I thought you had him. No, you had him. I mean, because it's like one clap and there's like 4 guys changing directions, and it's pretty fascinating to watch. But they try to get you very confused, and they have success doing this. Everybody, I mean, Oklahoma got confused 2 weeks ago. Iowa State got confused in Ames on a Saturday night. And then when you've got legit speed and talent, and I think Leipold is a phenomenal coach. I think he's one of the best coaches in the Big 12. He's in year 3 of his tenure. I think that they've got some stability there, and I think he's recruited well and kind of coached to it. But I mean, they've beaten Oklahoma and Texas in recent years. Like I said, it's the best Kansas team since 2008 win wise, and they're still kind of hanging around for a chance to go to Arlington. So that's what you'll be dealing with in Lawrence.
I'd hope that Tech can spoil any hopes that are left.
And you know who I wouldn't be surprised if he's in attendance. Maybe he'll bring you a little good luck, although he wasn't last year. But I still am gonna always like defer to him. But it's the Chiefs bye week this week. Just so happens the Red Raiders coming to town.
I think there's a decent chance, unless
yeah.
he's world traveling or anything in the bye week. Last one on football before we turn to basketball, and a couple of questions there. The 11 a.m. kickoff announced for Texas Tech and Kansas.
It's great news.
Yeah, I was about to ask: Are you a buyer, a believer in the?
Yeah,
and that helps the road team out more.
It only helps you. It does not hurt. It hurts the home team. I would have told you this had the roles been reversed, and you had some monster home game or whatever, and that you get the 11 a.m. kick, you would have been like, ooh, that's just the way it works. For road games, you want as early as possible, and your players always do too. Get up, get going, let's roll. And it affects the crowd. It affects the energy level. And, it leads to the home team more often than not. Sometimes the ingredients are there to come out flat or flatter. And, that's why a fast start for the road team in those scenarios would definitely be good. It'll be a bit chillier when we go on the air and all those things. But yeah, I thought that was a net positive right there for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't guarantee you anything, but it definitely only helps you. It doesn't hurt you.
Agreed. All right, so Texas Tech hoops starting up this week. Women play on Tuesday night to open the season against UT Rio Grande Valley. The men play on Wednesday, so depending when you're watching, some of those may have already happened. Listening or watching, men start against A&M Commerce. Since the last time we've talked, though, Tech played last Sunday against Texas A&M. You win that exhibition game. It's an exhibition, so you take it with a grain of salt, but it still at the same time shows that you've got talent on this team to be able to go beat the number 15 team in the country.
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think if Grant played that to win, he coached it to win.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, well, if we'd have lost that, it wouldn't have been such a bad thing too. But that's not what you feel in the moment. But now there's like some like expectations maybe, or like some like, oh, holy cow, look out, and all that, which is sometimes not necessarily what you want.
Yeah.
If it's whether realistic or unrealistic, but yeah, I think they played and coached that to win, and I think they shortened the rotation a little bit. They dealt with quite a bit of foul trouble, but they really embraced the environment, and they got an important result, which doesn't count, but I think it also kind of infuses some confidence into that, because A&M is a legit top 25 team, top 20 team, maybe even top 15 team. This is a absolute SEC, title contender. This is a bona fide NCAA team. Had you got this done in the regular season, home, away, neutral, whatever, it would have been a quad 1 win, period.
Yep.
And that is as much of a compliment as I can give Buzz Williams' team, because they were 15-3 in the SEC last year, 7 seed in the tournament, and you beat them. And I thought Pop played well. You shot 34 threes. Thought Joe Toussaint did a great job of distributing the basketball. He had his 7 assists. I think, Warren Washington, he didn't necessarily score a lot, but I thought they really went into this, did A&M going, we're not going to let him beat us at the rim. And so that's what opens up a lot of 3-point opportunities. They were at one point, at one point they were 8 of 9 in transition from 3. And a lot of that had to do with the rim running of Warren Washington and them defending that and saying we'll take our chances here,
sucking the defense in. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, a basketball question, really 2-parter. This one from Mark asks, where was Steffi and Demarion Williams in the exhibition game, and do you expect the starting lineup to be the same starting lineup in the exhibition game as we'll see most of the season?
Well, I think they to win, and it coached it to win. I think that's probably as close to reality of where they would be in a very tight, hotly contested game with what you saw. So you didn't also see Kyron Lindsey either. No Drew Steffi, Kyron Lindsey, and DeMarion Williams. I think those are just guys that right now, I guess they feel like are not ready to help you in those environments. Because, Grant could have gone into it a variety of different ways. Don't worry about the result. Everybody's going to play. Everybody's going to play equal, but they made the decision. No, we're going to treat this extremely seriously. We're going to treat it like a true road game against a legit opponent.
Yeah.
And practice that, and we're going to play it with what we think we know about our team right now, and that's what they did, and they got the result that they were looking for. But and as far as did you ask a question about a starting lineup?
Yeah, the one that they used.
Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty close, and I think Chance McMillan is the one that came off the bench. He played 23 minutes, and Lamar Washington played 24. But those other 5 starters, so you had Darian Williams, you had Pop, you had Joe Toussaint, you had Cambridge, and Warren Washington. I would have been surprised if Chance McMillan was in that starting line, and somebody else was not. But I think Chance McMillan and Lamar Washington will play a ton. I know Grant really likes his guards, and I think Lamar and Chance really, and two of the more important players on your entire team are going to be. Devin Cambridge and Darian Williams, because they give you length and size on the wing, but they can also both handle the ball. But you don't have a lot of experienced depth. But I think that Kerwin Walton, it would be another option right there as far as a wing player and all that. But, where it gets really scary is that, behind Warren Washington, that's where Jennings and EY, the kid from Finland, and Lindsey, would be, able to give you some minutes. So you've got a long way to go. It's fun. I think that
a whole season to go.
You're going to be a lot faster pace, and I think people
would
have thought you're not going to shoot 34 threes every night out. You're not going to shoot 40+% every night out. Pop's not going to go for 30 every night out. But there's some possibilities here, and this team will need to evolve and all that. And their non-conference schedule is a sneaky tougher than I think people realize with some of these games. So we'll see kind of what we get starting this week with Texas A&M Commerce coming into town, and then San Jose State over the weekend.
Yeah, we'll be talking a lot more basketball over the next few weeks as the season gets ramped up. And heck, you're going to be in. I mean, the team's going to be in the Bahamas here in about 3 weeks or so. It gets on you quick.
Yes, it does. Yeah, well, like in 2 weeks. Yeah, I think basically like in 2 weeks from right now, I think they'll already be there, because am I doing the math right? 2
weeks from
because it's the weekend before Thanksgiving that they'll go, and they'll play on, I think, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
That's right. You are correct.
Yeah, so they would have already been in Atlantis in the Bahamas, and been to that resort a couple times. It's still unfathomable to me that they play basketball and that's just kind of a weird. I don't know. I almost have to see it for myself. Obviously, won't be there because I'll be stuck with you doing.
Stuck with me.
Kidding.
I also would rather be in the Bahamas instead of Austin, Texas.
I wouldn't.
No?
I mean, no. I've been there twice. It's not. I don't know if and maybe that's part of it. Why it's not. Since I've been there and all that stuff. But I mean, I would miss football too. I just feel like you're in the
sure
meat of football season and all that stuff, and we don't know whether those games that week against Central Florida and Texas will what they'll mean necessarily. But it's not bad to spend Thanksgiving at home either.
Hey, who knows? Tech could. I mean, you could be playing for a bowl game and or playing the role of spoiler in Austin at that point too, to keep them out of a Big 12 appearance. Okay, last one real quick. The Big 12 Matrix model, they released the next 4 seasons. We don't have time to break it all down or tell you everything from every season, but there was a question from Max that says, how did you feel about what you saw? Were there any surprises to you? Did you expect pods?
Yeah, pods, divisions, all that talk turned out to be phooey because it was a matrix, which I wasn't, and they tried to give. I think ultimately what they tried to do was they felt like the most important thing was everybody sees everybody. and literally,
Yeah.
Every school will see, will host every institution and make a trip to every opposing institution throughout this 4-year stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's some flaws to it. I get what they were doing. I do think it's really stupid. Like when I hear the SEC, this school doesn't play this school but once every 8 years. I mean, come on, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah, I agree.
That like you're not really even in the same league at this point. You're barely playing them. I mean, I don't know. You're just under the same umbrella and, sanctioned by the same commissioner and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. But this is what they felt was best. It feels a bit weird. I think the reality is setting in when you look at it and you start looking at like, this is what I'm going to buy a season ticket for. It is a bit interesting to look at it, without seeing those OUs and Texases and some of that stuff on there anymore, and not even getting Oklahoma State every year. TCU just played here, and you'll get them once at home in that 4-year stretch. You won't play Baylor in 2025 for the first time since 1955, I think is right. So it's wild a bit, I think, on some of those kinds of things.
And even on some of the other things, you don't make your first trip to Cincinnati or Central Florida, I think until 26 and 27 on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just strange. I would have rather seen the pods personally, but they forgot to call me and ask. So, oh well. Level, we've run out of time, but appreciate it, my man. Hopefully we get to talk another win and being one game away from bowl eligibility. We'll hear you on basketball coming up on Wednesday. Looking forward to all of it, man. Appreciate it again.
Enjoy the week, people. Lots of sports going on. All the sports is happening. And kudos to the Texas Rangers. We will wrap it up with this.
Absolutely.
Pop Creed in the old CD player or rev it up on the iTunes, and world champs, flags fly for forever. And they did it. And I had my doubts, but they did it. And there was zero flukes about it. Zero trash can banging, zero anything going on. And credit to Chris Young and Bruce Bochy, the ownership group, and Corey Seager and Josh Young and all the dudes that gave me, and I know you, Woodman, tons of unbelievable memories that I will never, ever forget. So freaking awesome. It's why my voice is kind of a bit tricky right now, but
just
it is what it is.
Just got the goosebumps again. You talking about it. It's so good. Sports, man. Sports. It's wonderful. But leave it with that. Rangers, go Rangers. It should be pretty good again next year. But have a great week, Level. We'll talk to you then.
Appreciate it.
That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. You've been tuned into the Ask Level podcast, brought to you by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.